Prepare to be captivated by the business story of the week, hosted by me, Shaheen Shan. Join us on a journey through the twists and turns of entrepreneurial triumphs and setbacks. Immerse yourself in the narrative and witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. This is Business Story of the Week.
And welcome back, folks. Welcome back to Business Story of the Week. And today we have ourselves a Hall of Famer. I am very, very excited for this episode. Today we have Carl Mecklenburg himself, who rose from college walk-on onto the 12th round of the NFL draft pick to a career with the Denver Broncos that included 6 Pro Bowls and 3 Super Bowl appearances. He is considered the most versatile player in the NFL. Carl played all 7 defensive front positions, and there were even games where Carl played all 7 positions in the course of a single game. My goodness, ladies and gentlemen, in 2001, Carl was inducted into the Denver Broncos Ring of Fame and the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame. Off the field, of course, Carl is deeply involved in philanthropic efforts supporting various organizations and in his new career as a speaker, as a keynote speaker. He brings the lessons in life that he learned and taught him, about teamwork from NFL, courage, dedication, desire, honesty, forgiveness, and his goal settings is what he calls are his 6 keys to success. Today, Carl is dedicated to excellence both on and off the field. And today, he's going to share that excellence with us on this episode. Carl, how are you doing? I'm excited to have you. Thank you for being on the show.
Of course, Joshua, I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm excited to be here too.
Fantastic. Carl, I always like to start from the beginning. First of all, I wish that introduction. I hope it gave you justice to this prolific career of yours. But I like to start from the beginning before we get into the nitty-gritty of this. Your journey from being a college walk-on to NFL legend is nothing short of, just like remarkable. Nothing short of remarkable story. Could you share any pivotal moments in your experience on your early days, not just in your football career, perhaps when you were younger, perhaps when you were going through all these motions? What were pivotal moments that shaped your determination and your resilience that led you to football and now into your speaking career?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't a great player when I was a kid. I was just one of the guys. I played junior varsity as a junior in high school. I didn't even make the varsity team. Actually, I had an incident that happened that year where I had missed a junior varsity game. They rescheduled it. It was during a time my dad was going to have me out hunting in North Dakota, which was a big thing for me at the time.
All right.
And so we missed the game. And then, so the coach had me run 100 of these 45-degree hills and just basically tried to make me quit. And it was really at that point where I decided football was important to me. I had never considered not playing, and all of a sudden it was put in my face there, and yeah, that wasn't going to happen. So the next year I was an all-state tight end and defensive end, but I was only 6 feet tall and 200 pounds. I wasn't big enough to play major college football, so I went to a small college, Augustana College in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, on a 1/3 scholarship.
Wow.
Which 2 years later they took away. I was playing well, but they had said they were going to bump me up to a full scholarship, but instead they said, "We know your dad's a doctor; he can afford this school. We're going to take away his scholarship and use it to bring someone else in." So I left there and I walked down at the University of Minnesota. Was there for 2 years, and the 310th pick of the draft. 20 guys away from Mr. Irrelevant, but we had 12 rounds back then instead of 7, so it was even deeper than they go now. And got to training camp, they gave me the same number as a starter. That's not a good sign
Oh my
when
goodness.
they give you that. I remember one particular incident that happened early on in training camp. I had a hole in one of my socks, and I went to the equipment manager, asked for a new pair of socks.
Okay.
He said, "What's the matter with the other sock?" He only gave me one sock. so,
What?
so yeah, that's where I was. But things changed. I found professional football was different than college football. Professional football is a mental game.
Hmm.
They assume you've got the athletic ability. That's just you've got to have that. But what makes you a great player in the NFL is not necessarily your athleticism. It's your ability to adjust, your
Right.
ability to be decisive, your ability
Oh,
to take the first step before anybody else does. And
right.
that's a big part of my message, the
Wow.
preparation, and then decisiveness.
That's fantastic because, well, just to give a bit of a perspective, I mean, of course, in college, everyone's coming in there, everyone's athletically good, so to speak. You got into the program based on some of your performances, but then you go into pro, everyone is better, everyone's just great, and everyone's just as good, and just excels in their own field. That's why the mental capacity now comes in, and that is where what really matters when it comes to going pro. What a great perspective to have on here. I want
Yeah,
to talk a Go ahead.
college football, you do what you do and you
Uh-huh.
hope it matches up against your opponent.
Uh-huh.
And the pros, you change every week. You adjust to what they do. So
Right.
so we spent way more time in meeting rooms than we did on the practice field. It was all adjustments to what was going to happen the next week. And then you come in, you go over film, you look at what you did right, you repeat that, you look at what you did wrong, you throw that out, you
Hmm.
you replace that, and you get ready for the next team. And so it's it's a really boiled down version of what
Right.
business is like, right? It's like
Right.
it's so obvious when what you're doing and when you're doing it and what the results are, and everybody can watch it on television and they can look and say, "Hey, those guys are playing like a team. Those guys aren't playing like a team." Well, what's the difference?
Hmm.
Well, it's coordination.
Right.
It's reacting in a proper manner in those circumstances. And I think a lot of times business people are so busy that they don't take the time to evaluate what's been going on and then make some changes. They're just busy trying to put out fires everywhere.
That's a great way to put it, and it's a great transition as well because now you are a highly regarded speaker and motivator, and in your talks, in your keynotes, you emphasize the importance of teamwork, courage, goal setting, and these are all experiences that you draw from the NFL. How do you then tailor your talk, so to speak? How have you tailored your strategies when you go out there and make sure it resonates with different audiences? You don't always talk to sports people, right? But they
No, no.
probably know Carl, the Hall of Famer. But how do you hope, or what do you hope attendees take away from your speeches every time you go up there?
Joshua, I will study the organization, come early, make sure. A lot of times my communication is with the meeting professional, and the meeting
Okay.
professional doesn't necessarily work in that industry. They're meeting professionals. That's what they
Yes.
do. So I'll be there early and make sure I get to talk to some of the on the ground folks that actually have a great concept of what's needed, and try to use their language. I think is helpful too. Everybody calls a team a different thing. Everybody calls um, their goals different things. So I try to adjust from that standpoint.
Hmm.
And the way my presentation will go is I'm a storyteller. I will tell a story, but then the bridges between the stories go back to that audience and what their
Of
needs
course.
are and what their challenges are. So I'll tell a story and then say, and this means this in this situation and in your industry, and then go on to the next one. And it all is flowing in the direction that I wanted to. And there's a lot of humor. It's fun. People
That's
people enjoy it. and it's very relatable. Even if you don't know anything about football, you can still get something out of it. And I throw a lot of things at the wall. Everybody's going to come away with what they need at that point, rather
Mhm.
than what I'm telling them they need. So I'm gonna put out teamwork with leadership being the ultimate expression of teamwork, courage, the courage to try new things, the courage to be decisive, dedication, which is hard work, constant learning, refusing to quit,
Mhm.
desire, that's the dream, the passion, the mission, honesty and forgiveness with yourself and self-evaluation, and then with others, and finally goal setting, the reasonable short-term specific steps that get you those desires, those passions, those missions. Like I said, all story based, a lot of humor and fun. And the other thing that I do very different, I think, than a lot of speakers is I
Uh-huh.
don't have a green room. I don't hide from the audience. I'm there early. I'm going to the reception. I'm getting to know them. I'm
Uh-huh.
signing autographs. I'm posing for photos. I'm doing all that
Uh-huh.
kind of stuff too. So I think there's a real multiplying effect to my message when they actually get to talk to me and tell them about their specific issues, and or ask me questions about football or whatever they want to do.
Wow, well, everyone loves themselves a good story, and they don't always get the opportunity to meet, an NFL legend like you. So I would totally, ask you all the questions I could have in my mind, especially that is my opportunity, not just to meet you as a speaker, but meet you as the person, as the sportsman that you are. I can see how that is effective, that you are putting yourself out there as a speaker first, or as a person first, meeting all these people before you start talking to them. I want to relate to that a bit more, but I want to go back a little bit to your career, and then we'll relate it back to the business, because I think this is a very important angle that we can work on. Throughout your NFL career, you were known for your versatility, right? You were playing all seven defensive front positions. Um, you were adaptable, and you were willing to embrace those changes to contribute to your team's success on the field. At what point did you feel like you could do it, like you were good enough? Because you were talking about like your college days, they weren't really looking at you like, this kid, give same number as the starter. But what one pivotal point that happened where you knew you were good enough, and the coaches knew the same, and depending on based on those lessons, will relate it to your speaking engagement. But what were the pivotal moment that happened?
Sure. Yeah, I in the NFL, um, I was handling people in practice and felt comfortable. There was a point where as a practice squad player, somebody who is not a starter, not even on the depth chart, they have you practicing against the starters.
Right.
And Coach Reeves made the other coach pull me out because I was messing up all their drills. Get him out of there. Put
Oh
someone
no.
else in there so we can do what we're supposed to do.
Oh no.
So that's good when they recognize who you are from that standpoint. And then I tore a ligament in my elbow. I was drafted as a nose guard. I tore a ligament in my elbow, so they moved me out to defensive end. You don't have to lock out both arms at defensive end like you do at nose guard. So they moved me out to defensive end. First preseason game, I was in the game when Seattle's starter was still in the game, a guy named Ron Essink, who had
Oh.
started for years. I got 2 sacks and forced a fumble. I was defensive player of the game. John Elway was offensive player of the game. I basically
Uh-huh.
made the team at that point. I got a new number after that game. It wasn't it wasn't 77, but I think it was 92 or something.
All
And then
right.
then they fired somebody else and gave me his job and gave me 77. That's how I ended up with that number. But I was a starting defensive end in our nickel defense for the rest of my career for 12 years.
Wow. Wow. So it's not just about adaptability, your innate skill to be adaptable, and your willingness to embrace that change. It's also about overcoming obstacles, because you were injured, you were given a different role, so to speak, and you had to excel into that. How do you then now bring that with your, a success in that field and adjusting into that? How you then have brought that to your speaking today? And what are the main traits that you people need to have relating to that when it comes to their business?
Sure. Joshua, I had never played linebacker in my life until my third year in the NFL.
Whoa.
The Broncos coaching staff saw a need, saw we had some depth at defensive line,
Uh-huh.
and said, Randy Gradishar had retired, so there was a need, and they said, Carl, we've watched you, we think you can do this, and it's a very different job,
Mhm.
but they had confidence in me, and I had confidence in myself, and I made that switch. I went to training camp as a linebacker, went to meetings as a linebacker, went to practice as a linebacker. Game time came, I was still a third down pass rusher and a special teams player until the
Mhm.
10th game of that year. The 10th game of that year, our starter got hurt, and I got a chance to start. I had a big hit in that game that they still show on highlight videos that
Hey.
the Fox television program, the Fox Sports List, listed it as one of the top 10 hits in NFL history.
Wow.
And I was a linebacker. I played 6 more games as a linebacker for the Broncos. I was at seventh one was in the Pro Bowl as an All-Pro linebacker.
Wow.
Um, it it there are people in your business who are out of position. You hired them for a job because there was an opening there. They are doing all right at that job, but they'd be better at something else. And as a leader, it's up to you to get to know those people and know what they're capable of, and put them in a position to be successful. If you have problems keeping employees with employee retention, if you have problems with people not showing up on time and all that kind of thing, it's because they're not in the right position. That's your job as a leader. What do the New England Patriots do other than cheat?
Shots
Whoa.
fired.
Bill Belichick was as good as there's ever been at identifying someone's talent and putting them in a position to be successful.
Wow.
One year, when after I had retired, they had a 4 tight end offense that they played more than half of the season. It's unusual to have 2 tight ends on the field at once, but they went into training camp. He saw that 4 of his best players on offense were tight ends. So it's
Mhm.
up to him as a leader to put them in positions to be
Right.
successful, make the team
Right.
better. So, and that's what he did. And you can make connections between football and business very easily in many different ways, but that's one of them.
Wow. And just because you are an out of position doesn't mean you can't do well. But as a leader, finding that spark in those teammates and those team members, getting on the right spot, making sure they succeed, which means everyone succeeds as well. The organization succeeds, the company succeeds. And that really shows, yeah, like you said, a lot of sports theories, a lot of sports principles practice really, really seamlessly flow into business so easily. What was the point in your career now that you're a speaker? When did you decide to be a speaker? And when did you know that, sports is perfect for, talking about business and talking about entrepreneurship?
Yeah, Joshua, I didn't have any idea what I was going to do after I retired. I had seen lots of players get involved, buy a restaurant or start a business during their career, and then their career ended quickly.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody can keep those 2 balls in the air at once.
Hmm.
I understood that I'd have some time when I got done
Hmm.
from football, and would look at what was going to work for me later. I had
Hmm.
been a pre-med major, took the entrance exam to medical school when I was in college, and scored well enough to go to medical school, but I had young kids at home, and it just wasn't going to work that way. Um,
Hmm.
and I got some opportunities. A few people asked me to speak through the years, and I enjoyed it,
Wow.
and they enjoyed it, and really the pattern of professional speaking is very similar to football. You prepare for that group that you're going to either play against or speak to.
Right.
You perform at a high level for a short period of time. You evaluate what went on. You repeat what went
Uh-huh.
well. You throw out what didn't go well. You get ready for the next one. I mean, it's football, but you don't get hurt. So I really enjoyed it, and I've actually been a professional speaker now for longer than I was a professional football player. I've been a professional speaker for 20 years,
Wow.
and
How
and
much that
yeah,
that that that's
I do about 40 presentations a year,
oh my goodness.
and have throughout.
It sounds like you are having a quite a prolific retirement career, Carl, and um, I can't believe that you have been a speaker longer than you have been an athlete. How's that feel? How does it feel kind of weird that that you're known mostly as an NFL legend, but it seems that it feels just the way you talk about it right now. It feels like you feel more rewarded as a speaker. How does that feel?
Oh, it's great. I go in, speak to an association, to a corporation, and um, make a difference, you know.
Wow.
Football game's over, and I guess if you bet on it, it makes a difference. But other than that, it's entertainment, right? What I do now, it has entertainment as part of it, but a big part of it is helping people, make a difference in their lives and make a difference in their business. And that obviously there's great rewards in that, for me and for them.
And you don't get hurt.
And I don't get hurt.
That's the key right there. And speaking of keys, Carl, and these are one of the things that you teach in your keynotes when you are speaking, your goal setting methods or style or techniques. You call it 6 keys to success. And for audiences and listeners out there, talk to us a little bit about that and how those keys to success can lead us into better business journey.
Sure. From a goal standpoint, I feel like, and I teach there's two levels of goals. Your
Mhm.
desire, your passion, your mission, that should be extravagant, long term, somewhat general. For me, it was always, I'm going to be the greatest football player that ever played the game.
Wow.
When I made decisions day to day, they were pointing in that direction. And I saw unbelievably talented guys come to training camp every year. They'd invite 100 guys to training camp. At the end of 5 weeks, there's 50 of them that make the team. So half of
Wow.
them get sent home. And it's not that they're not talented. They can test your speed and your agility and watch film.
Mhm.
They know when they bring you into camp that you could help the team. The question
Right.
is, what's your level of desire? For me, it was, I'm going to be the greatest. And I saw over and over again unbelievably talented guys, more talented than me, come into training camp, and their desire, their passion, their mission was to get invited to the training camp. And
Wow.
and that already happened, and they're done, and they get sent
Wow.
home. I think people sell themselves short. I think people don't look at the big picture enough.
Mhm.
Whenever I'm in a situation where I've got to make a decision, I'm looking at that big picture. Now
Right.
I'm 63 years old. I'm not Tom Brady. I can't play still, so I have other desires, other passions, other missions in my
Uh-huh.
life. As a father, I'm going to give unconditional, uncompromising love to my family.
Uh-huh.
As a speaker and an
Wow.
author, I'm going to inspire long-term positive change.
Wow.
As a Christian, everything I say and do reflects God's love. That's who I am. That's who I'm going to. I'm decided I'm going to be, and because I know that, I can make decisions that go in those directions. And that's uh, that's my goal setting piece. Now the goals themselves, uh, that's an evaluation. You look at yourself honestly,
Right.
and say, this is what I did right. This is what I did wrong. If you did something wrong, try to figure out a way around it.
Wow.
Reasonable, short-term, specific steps. An example that I use now and again. I played against the Philadelphia Eagles 1 week, and the next week we played against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And against the Eagles, I had a problem with my hand placement.
Oh.
The coach made it real clear on film that that's why I was getting beat. There was no question that was a problem.
Uh-huh.
So I decided the next week in practice, I was going to make sure my hand placement was right every single play.
Okay.
And the next week, I had a great game. I had 4 sacks in the game. I was defensive player of the week that week in the NFL or whatever. But I had a great day. Now it doesn't always happen that fast, but if you can identify what's wrong,
Mhm.
then set a reasonable short-term specific goal
Mhm.
and fix it.
Precisely. And when it comes to business, you see a mistake, you tweak it, don't dwell on it, just move along and just tweak it as best as you can. And wow, it does really translate into business very well, huh?
Yeah, in the NFL, they grade every play on film. You watch it on film. They grade
Uh-huh.
it. They grade it on technique and on assignment. And if you grade out 90%, you're an all-pro player. So 10%
Wow.
of the time you're wrong and the coach is hollering at you in front of your peers. And that's how it is.
That's
And
how
that's
it
the
is.
best of the best. So you have to develop a thick skin, but you also have to develop a, a, a heart that can say, it's okay. I made
Right.
a mistake. I'm gonna fix that
Right.
mistake.
Right.
I'm gonna set some goals, reasonable short-term specific steps, and we're gonna move forward. And next week you'll do something else wrong, and then set some goals around that, fix that, and it's just the way it is in the NFL.
Fantastic. Oh, what a great, I love these analogies that you're putting in from sports into business because I am sure our audiences and listeners are beaming from this right now. Um, Talk to us a little bit about playbooks. You have plays in your NFL. How much of this do you try to apply when it comes to your speaking and when it comes to business in general? Like, how do you, these playbooks are varied across all fields. How do you know which one's the right one?
Wow. Again, for me, it's preparation, uh, and then being decisive based on what your preparation was. And
Mhm.
then that honesty and forgiveness piece of looking at it, what worked, what didn't work. Make sure you make time for that.
Right.
So many times people repeat the same mistakes over and over and
That
over
is
and
true.
over again.
That is true.
And what it takes is that honest evaluation.
Mhm.
Look at it, and it's okay. You know, people ask me about my Super Bowl experience. I played in 3 Super Bowls, and we just got hammered in all 3 Super Bowls, and we just got beat
I
bad.
didn't want to say anything.
This is and it's in front of the whole world, right? The 9 of the 10 most viewed television programs in the history of television in the United States were
And you
Super
got
Bowl,
whooped.
and I played in 3 of them.
Ah!
So the sun does come up, and you evaluate, and you get ready for the next year, and you do everything you can to get back and fix it. So for me, people ask me all the time, how can you get up in front of 5,000 people and give a speech? Doesn't that intimidate you? It's like, man, I have fallen on my face in the biggest. If something goes wrong here, that's all right, comparatively, right? I don't sweat it.
I got I got I got whooped in national television. What do you mean I'm scared with 5,000 going in front of 5,000 people? Come on. I love that. First of all, like if you keep committing mistakes and never correcting them, you never become a Hall of Famer like you, right? You never go on to Super Bowls. You keep making those mistakes and you never correct them. You don't ever succeed in your business. You don't ever succeed in your entrepreneurship or anything in life, really. Um, but a much bigger thing I want to highlight that is a heart to say yes. I said a heart to say it's okay. I will change. I know this is what it takes. And if any example that we can take away from this right now is that don't be afraid to make mistakes because Carl made a lot of mistakes in national television.
Well, not, yeah, 90% of the 10% of the time I'm wrong. No question. And that's the best of the best. So don't I think one of the things that really paralyzes athletes and business people is fear of failure.
That's true.
Uh, but not acting is almost always wrong. If you boil down my career to one word, I would say decisiveness. I run a 4.940, which isn't fast enough to play in the NFL. It's how you end up being the 310th pick of the draft. I was an afterthought. But I found out early on in my career, if I could take the first step in the right direction before anybody else did, all the angles would change in my favor. The tight end couldn't pin me in. The guard couldn't cut me off. The fullback couldn't keep
Wow.
me from getting the line. It all changed. And how do you do that? It's through preparation. It's through
Wow.
going into every situation, having already thought about it. I get up every morning, do a little Bible study, think about who I'm going to run into that day and who I can positively influence that day, and what might happen. And then when
Wow.
those things happen, I can be decisive. I've already thought about it. It's time to go.
Wow.
And that decisive thing has carried right through from football into the speaking world.
Wow. And luck is the meeting of preparation and opportunity. But more than that, before you even get there, you need to be decisive. You need to know what is it that you really want. And Carl, what a great message to leave us today. What a great story to tell us today. I want to wrap this up in a way that I always do, you know. First of all, I want to ask, what are the future aspirations of Carl Mecklenburg? What is the future for him? Are you gonna do this 20 more years as a speaker?
I would
What
love to do it for 20 more
oh,
years.
that would be great, Carl. And
Yeah,
and
if the
maybe a
phone
lot.
kept ringing, that would be awesome. I love what I do.
Mhm.
Uh, the the ability to meet new people and help them meet challenges in their personal lives and in their business lives is just
Wow.
a wonderful thing. My wife travels with me now, so I
Wow.
don't even have to leave her at home. It's a beautiful thing.
Beautiful.
So yeah, it's a blast, and as long as I can ride this horse, I'll ride it.
Fantastic.
You got to keep relevant though. The stories hold the audience's attention.
Hmm.
Uh, Relevancy makes it worthwhile,
Hmm.
and it that's when you know it's time to step down when you're not relevant anymore. And I can't see what I teach ever being irrelevant.
Wow. Carl, I'd like to give you this opportunity. Where can we find you? Where can we connect with you? And where can we know where your next keynote speech is so we could visit you?
Yeah, it's carlmecklenburg.com.
All right.
Carl's with a K. You can misspell it a number of ways and still get there.
But there's
But
only one Hall of Famer. There's only one NFL
there you,
legend.
there you go. But yeah, carlmecklenburg.com is probably the best place to go. Most of my speeches are for associations or for businesses, so they're not open to the public. If there is ever anything open to the public, I put it up on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. Yeah, I'm very active on those platforms, so you can find me there.
Right.
Sign up and learn some more from Mecklenburg Motivation.
All right, fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Mecklenburg Motivation. And today you have motivated us, sir. Thank you so much for your prolific Hall of Fame career. If there was a speaker Hall of Fame, you should be on there perhaps for 20
Well, I
years.
appreciate it. Yeah, there is a Speaker Hall of Fame. I'm a member of the National Speakers Association, which is our association as speakers. And yeah, there's a Hall of Fame, and I've been up a couple times. It just hasn't happened yet.
All right. Well, we need to work on that. We're going to start a petition for Carl Mecklenburg, Speaker Hall of Fame. Carl, thank you so much for your energy and your wisdom today. I'm glad to have you on the show. I hope you enjoyed as well.
Thank you, Joshua. It was great. Take care now.
Fantastic. And to all our audience and listeners out there, see you on the next one.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.